In this video from Idioms Online, I'm going to present 15 English sports idioms. As important as sports and athletics are to the world's cultures, it is probably no surprise that many of our metaphors and figurative language come from sports. Some of the most common idioms in the English language relate to sports in some way. Most of the time, that means they originated in sports, but others can be related to sports in some non-direct way. So here are 15 English sports idioms from Idioms Online with their meanings and sentence examples. This first group of idioms comes from horse racing. A shoo-in. A shoo-in is something or someone who is certain or very likely to win. Example, the Republican candidate is a shoo-in to win the race for governor. Although often misspelled with an S-H-O-E, this idiom has nothing to do with shoes. Instead, it comes from the act of shooing. For example, we often shoo away flies or birds. The word shoo comes from a German word which means to drive away. The term shoo-in comes from horse racing during the late 1800s to early 1900s. It has to do with fixed races. A shoo-in involved a group of racers betting on a horse that was not very likely to win and so was given long odds. Then during the race, the riders would hold their own horses back and spur the weaker horse through the finish line. The notion of riders shooing in a horse to the finish line gave rise to the slang term for such cheating. Since such a horse was sure to win, the expression passed into general use alluding to anyone or anything sure to be victorious. Dark horse. A dark horse is a person in regards to a certain field, sport, political race, etc., whose experience and abilities are unknown but who could unexpectedly win or achieve success over others. An unknown and unexpected winner of a race or other contest. Having never won a race, he was a dark horse to win the gold medal in the 100 meters. In horse racing, a dark horse was a horse about which little was known and which was not expected to win. The first known use of the term in this context was in Benjamin Disraeli's novel The Young Duke from 1831. A dark horse which had never been thought of and which the careless St. James had never even observed in the list rushed past the grandstand in sweeping triumph. The term soon began to be applied more generally, but especially to unknown political candidates. There is a colorful story about the origin of the term in which a horse trader with a winning racehorse secretly disguised the horse as an ordinary workhorse, resulting in long odds and big betting wins when the horse would unexpectedly win the race. It is also claimed that owners would dye their horses a dark color in order to hide their identity. Back the wrong horse. To back the wrong horse means to make the wrong choice concerning who or what you support and to support a person or action that is later unsuccessful. Generally, it means to make a wrong choice or to guess wrongly concerning the final outcome. I backed the wrong horse in last year's election. Since bet on the wrong horse has the same meaning, it's fairly easy to figure out the origin of this idiom. To back a horse in horse racing usually entails the intention to bet on the horse winning. So to back the wrong horse is to bet on a losing horse. The next idiom comes from the game of billiards or pool. Behind the eight ball. To be behind the eight ball means to be in a difficult or awkward situation, to be at a disadvantage, or to be out of luck in a losing position, to be baffled as to what to do or how to proceed. Example, we're really behind the eight ball on this latest house flip. We just found cracks in the foundation and tons of mold to remediate. For more on this idiom, see the full video for Behind the Eight Ball linked in the description below. Call the shots. To call the shots means to be in charge or in control, to make the important decisions, or to have authority. Example, everybody can't be in charge, said Frank. Someone has to call the shots. To call the shot in pool playing or billiards means to say where you're going to hit the ball. The expression may also come from archery or target shooting, where archers or shooters may say what part of the target they're going to hit. The next group of idioms comes from the sport of baseball. To be on the ball. To be on the ball means to be highly competent, capable, skillful, proficient, etc. To be highly aware of what is going on and be quick to understand and react appropriately to things. Example, he must have something on the ball. He graduated from MIT after all. It's fairly certain this idiom comes from baseball, although we can't be 100% sure. It seems to allude to throwing a pitch in a way that makes it very hard to hit, such as with a lot of speed, spin, or change in motion, such as a curveball. Right off the bat. Right off the bat means immediately, instantly, from the very beginning. Example: the first time I put on ice skates, I fell down right off the bat. Then I fell down again. This baseball idiom seems to allude to hitting a ball with a bat. When a player hits a ball in baseball, they begin to run the bases immediately after the ball has been hit with no hesitation, thus, right off the bat. A whole new ballgame. A whole new ballgame is a completely changed situation or set of circumstances. Example: people don't want discs anymore. Now that streaming is becoming the standard for movies and music, it's a whole new ballgame. It can be safely assumed that this idiom came from baseball. However, the term ball game only referred exclusively to the game of baseball up until the 1940s. By 1913, sports reports began using a different ball game to refer to a dramatic turn of events in a baseball game, and this phrase became common by the 1930s. This phrase and its variation, a whole new ball game, did not seem to have passed into figurative use until the 1960s, when a ball game could also have referred to football or even basketball. The following idioms are from American football. To do an end run. To do an end run is to maneuver around an obstacle or authority in order to accomplish a certain goal. This idiom means much the same as to go over someone's head. Often the word around is added, as in to do an end run around somebody, but this usage is not necessary in all cases. Example: Fran knew her boss would steal credit for her new idea, so she did an end run around him and went straight to the CEO. This idiom comes from American football, where an end run refers to an offensive play in which the player with the ball runs around the end of the opposing defensive line. It has been in use since the mid-1900s. Monday morning quarterback. A Monday morning quarterback is a person who dissects an event and tells others how it should have been dealt with after the event has happened. This person has the benefit of hindsight and already knowing what decisions were made and what outcomes occurred. So a Monday morning quarterback is wise after the fact. Football fans, of course, may be Monday morning quarterbacks and love to discuss what plays should have been called, etc., after a game has already been won or lost. In this way, they are similar to armchair quarterbacks, but only after the fact. For a Monday morning quarterback, hindsight is 20/20. Example: after the bridge collapsed, the Monday morning quarterbacks were out in force, but in truth, nobody suspected the structural flaw in the steel which led to the event. NFL Sunday football games are a favorite American pastime, so it would be easy to assume that this idiom originated after the NFL was formed, as people would watch the game on Sunday and then discuss it on Monday. Surprisingly, however, the idiom predates the NFL and actually comes from college football. The term was used by Harvard University quarterback Barry Wood as early as 1931. He was referring to fans of college football, but why he used Monday when games were played on Saturday is unclear. Run interference. To run interference is to help someone accomplish something by dealing with potential problems so as to eliminate encumbrances or distractions, to intervene in order to help another person. Example: Todd, my son's school just called. He's sick and I need to pick him up. Can you run interference with the boss for me while I'm gone? This idiom has been used since the 1900s. In American football, to run interference is to deploy an array of blockers in front of a ball carrier to help clear a path by blocking the opposing players and shoving them out of the way, thus removing the interference from the field so that the ball player can score a goal. This activity was legalized in American football in 1889. Because of the outrageous tactics first used, several fatalities happened on the field. After the more lethal forms of running interference were banned, to disassociate the activity from its negative past, it became known as blocking. But this change did not occur before running interference began to be used figuratively to mean helping to clear the way for someone else to accomplish something. The next idiom is a basketball idiom. Full court press. A full court press, when used as an idiom, refers to applying aggressive tactics and using all the resources at your disposal to exert maximum pressure in order to achieve some desired outcome. This idiom is most often used in business. Example: if we're going to close this deal, it will take a full court press. This is one of several idioms which come from basketball, a relatively young sport. In basketball, a full court press refers to a defensive tactic where the entire team is used to put pressure on the other team over the entire court, thus disrupting their ball handling, passing, dribbling, etc. This defense happens as soon as the inbound pass occurs, as opposed to allowing the other team to reach half court. The next idiom comes from the sport of wrestling. No holds barred. No holds barred means a situation without any restrictions where anything is permitted. It means anything goes. Example: I'll never go out shopping on Christmas Eve again. It's a no holds barred mob scene. Usually, wrestling is regulated and certain holds or moves are against the rules or barred. However, sometimes bouts do not have such restrictions and are called no-holds-barred matches. These types of bouts can be very dangerous. As an idiom, the expression alludes to this situation where there are no restrictions or rules. It has been used figuratively since at least 1940. The next few idioms come from the sport of boxing. On the ropes. When used regarding boxing matches, on the ropes refers to a fighter who has been forced back against the ropes by his opponent and is leaning on them for support, making it difficult to defend himself. When used generally to refer to a person, organization, business, or effort, on the ropes means that things are not going well and collapse or defeat is imminent. Example: his business was on the ropes and his marriage was on the rocks. Tom was having a very bad year. This idiom has been used in regards to boxing since the mid-1900s. Some sources do fail to recognize this phrase as an idiom when used in boxing, listing it only as the origin of the more general idiom. However, even when used in boxing, it can still be considered idiomatic. We might well imagine a boxer sitting on top of the ropes, but this is not the intention of the expression. The word on is used to mean against. Throw in the towel. To throw in the towel means to quit or give up, admitting defeat. Example: my aunt and uncle's marriage has been in trouble for years. They finally decided to throw in the towel. For more on this idiom, see the link to the full video. The next idiom is from racing. From the word go. Although this idiom probably derived from foot racing, like some other racing-related idioms, it could just as well have come from any kind of racing sport. From the word go means from the very beginning or start. Example: I was a part of this company from the word go and now it's finally time to retire. Dating from the early 1800s, the expression probably alludes to the start of a race signaled by an official yelling go, as in ready, set, go. An alternative form of the idiom, from the get-go, is much younger, having been used only since the 1960s. The allusion seems to be a shorthand version of since something got going. This concludes my presentation of 15 English sports idioms. If you like this video and find it helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you would like to know when new videos are uploaded, don't forget to subscribe and push the bell notification icon.